Okay. 1, 2, 3. We're here with Dale Comstock. Appreciate you joining us on our podcast hosted by myself, Michael, and Ian here at the Billionaires Club. Thank you for joining us, Dale. It's a pleasure to connect. Just even these first few seconds, I'm feeling the vibes, and I'm happy you joined us today and took the time. So I'd love to learn about you, man. I'm looking at your channel. I'm looking at everything you're doing, and it's quite unique. It's not the regular type of vibe, I feel. So Dale, if you could tell me who is Dale Comstock? What's the story? What's the come up? What's the the beginning to now? It looks amazing. I know you just mentioned something about Bali, but I want you to give me the whole scoop. Who is Dale?
Yeah, well, I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. So I've been around for a long time, believe it or not. I'm almost 60 years old, and so I grew up in the military. My father was in the Army for 20 years. Spent most of my life growing up in Germany. My mother's German. Long story short, I ended up joining the Army when I was 18, just to follow my dad's footstep. I wasn't smart enough to go to college, or I didn't think I was anyways. And the military is what I wanted to do. So I went in and I spent 20 years in as a Green Beret, as a Delta Force operator, as a paratrooper, as a long-range scout, basically as an infantry guy as well. And did my 20 years while I was there. I managed to eke out a bachelor's degree and a master's degree before I retired. Don't ask me how I did that, but it was midnight oil, among other things. And then 2001 is actually when I retired, about a month and a half before 9/11. I had started building my own company prior to my retirement because I felt like I wasn't the kind of guy that could go out and work for other people. You know, nobody on my mother's side or my father's side, all the men in the family anyways, were all entrepreneurs. Even my father, when he retired out of the Army, started his own insurance company and then started all kinds of other small businesses and things like that. And so I think it's just in my DNA. So I started a company called Global Security Consultants. And then 9/11 happened, the door swung wide open for me because it was a security company, and managed to do very well for the first 3 years until we sold the company to G4S Wackenhut. The reason they bought my company is because I was in their way. So, I was taking all their business. So it was okay with me because the plan was to build the business and then sell it, because we kind of, I say we, my partner and I made a strategic mistake in that we thought that, security is one of those businesses where there's really no return on investment per se. And so we figured, let's sell this thing while we can make a lot of money, because security eventually it'll peter off again, right? But man, I couldn't have been more wrong. So it never petered off. In fact, it's still a good business to be in. So I started another company called Risk Control Institute. And it's a virtual company, but I was doing business as RCI. Went back into the nuclear security industry, started garnering service contracts. And then 2011, I sold that company to another company called Intrepid. And that company became an umbrella company for my vertical that I ran underneath it. So there's a long story why I did that. But concurrently, so when I retired, I was also recruited by OGA. I'll just leave it as the Alphabet company, and went as a paramilitary operative for them for about 9.5 years. So concurrently, I was running a company here in the States, and I was going down range whacking bad guys. So pretty good, a lot of fun. And but long days,
Jason Bourne, the real life Jason Bourne, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's being super humble about it. I've heard so many cool stories in Bali from our bro V. He's like, you gotta meet Dale. He's informed.
There's a lot of information. Like I said, I'm just trying to give you the general.
No, I appreciate it. So let me ask you, if you don't mind, if I can just jump with you a little bit. So where were you raised? Where were you grown up? Like where's the childhood?
All over Manchester.
Oh, okay.
Most of it was in Germany. So I was actually born in Madigan Army Hospital in Seattle, Washington, and then we moved to Germany. And I grew up most of my childhood and the teenage years there. Lived with my German family quite a bit, and then literally we never lived in any one place more than 3 years because my dad was constantly getting rotated because of the military. We ended up retiring, or he ended up retiring in Tucson or Phoenix, Sierra Vista, Arizona.
Okay.
And then we moved from there to, of all places, San Francisco, which was like a culture shock for me, man. Like, but anyways, I'm from a very conservative family, conservative, culture.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm in this really weird place and just very uncomfortable. It's kind of weird, but as a teenager, I was very uncomfortable. And all I wanted to do was get back to the military life, and I could not wait to go back to the Army. So, but I spent 23 years on Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And then from there in 2007, I moved to Panama City Beach, Florida. I have a home here. And then backing up just a little bit, I mentioned earlier that I had sold my other company to a company called Intrepid. Well, I ran that company for my home here. At the time, making about $23,000 a month, just doing what I'm doing right now, just sitting here making some cold calls and talking to people here and there and managing things. But that led to being discovered by Discovery Channel, which is kind of weird, but
very cool.
So I ended up on a TV show called A One Man Army, and I thought, okay, well, this would be kind of a cool chapter to kind of close my military career, blah, blah, blah. That led to being discovered by NBC. I ended up on Stars and Stripes with Terry Crews. And then I got surrounded by a management team, and that led to more TV shows and started getting picked, as an actor and a stuntman. And after a couple of years of doing that, I realized that, basically I was faking the funk and it just didn't feel right. It's like I'm pretending to be some action guy, and
you are that guy in real life, right?
Well, and the thing too is that whole culture, man, is just so extremely different from the one I was raised in. It was an uncomfortable, it's just an uncomfortable experience. I mean, on one hand, I enjoyed it, but on the other hand, I felt like it's not who I am. And I'm a guy that likes substance, And so I ended up going to Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong for a while, and I was securing a multi-billionaire business investor, a banking investor. And then that's where I met my wife. She's Indonesian, but she ended up moving back to Indonesia. And then I'm like, so what do we do, right? So chase tails. So I chased her to Indonesia, and then when I got there, I looked around, and I go, man, I see some business opportunities here. And so then the business opportunities were related to security. So what I decided to do was, okay, if I want to do something business-wise here, I need to know who people are. So I started networking, and actually I used social media to start networking. I remember on Facebook, I went to Tactical Indonesia, right? So it was a Facebook group. There were cops, soldiers, paramilitary guys, paintballers,
Yeah. Tactical. Yeah.
And I jumped in and go, hey guys, this is who I am. Here's my book. I want to join the gang. And so I did. And that ended up with me starting to meet all these investors and attorneys, and everybody wanted, hey, take me out for dinner. And I finally ended up meeting my American business partner there, which was kind of interesting. I meet this Chinese business guy, and he's like, hey, do you know this guy? And I'm like, no. He goes, let's go. And so I go meet him. It turns out he's one of my business partners. His name's Moses, former Special Forces, Green Beret. Lived in Jakarta for a long time as a security manager for Ritz-Carlton and some of the Marriott properties over there. Okay. And then and that just turned into meeting another billionaire in Jakarta, and he and I became business partners. Stood up a security company in Jakarta, and then from there I ended up with my wife, literally packing all our crap into two police trucks, big ass police trucks, and literally everything we could stuff in there, even my motorcycles, and we drove for like 2.5 days to Bali, and went down there, and within 30 days, we had a home, we had set up an office, and we had our first contract. So I provide explosive detector canines, narcotic dogs, and patrol attack dogs for like all the Marriott properties and all the local venues there. In fact, I think you probably went to Finn's Beach Bar. Are you aware of it? So all the dogs that are there are my dogs as well. So
where?
Finn's Beach Bar in Canggu in Bali. So
I went to Savaya.
Oh, okay.
That's where I met, because I was Michael right here arranged for me to stay at all the Alila properties while I was there. So I was touring each one, and then at the very last one, it was Alila Uluwatsu, and then right next door, one of my friends from California is like, "Bro, I didn't know that you were like in Bali. I was there for like 6 months. I just left yesterday, but let me introduce you to my friends." You know, they used to formerly own Omnia, still the same group that operates there.
Well,
So I'm like, all right, cool. I met Nico, who's you know, corporate with Omnia, and then Alex and those guys. And that's where, you know, we were all hanging out on Sunday, like the last day before I'm leaving. I just meet all these guys, and then, you know, they're like, whatever you want, this is your house, you know. And I'm like, thank you, you know. And they're like, we're all leaving, but we're gonna leave V over here to look after you. So whatever you want, just tell V. And V's like telling me his story, and we just connected instantly. He's like, do you want to go out later tonight? And I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, you know, I'm not looking to party like that. But he's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna introduce you to Dale. He's like super elite. He's like one of my brothers, and then I'll connect you to all these other people in the States, all around the world. Awesome network you guys have. And that's kind of like how we, you know, are here right now, you know. So
that's what happened, huh?
this is just the first step, you know. I'm gonna go, like, I've heard stories that you've been like, there's one guy, I don't know his name, in Bali, that loves shooting, and his aim is like immaculate. The guy doesn't miss, and like when people go there, he's just like, you know, like whatever. And then when Dale showed up, the guy's like running back and forth, like, did you see that? Like, and I saw you, like, your aim is like, you know, like with the axes and stuff like that. Like, you're just
you're nasty,
the real American badass. Yes.
That's crazy.
Sorry.
Crazy.
I get excited and sidetracked, but let's continue.
Yeah, that's crazy. So no, I want to hear. Like, so you said, what did you do, Dale? You said your dogs are at this bar. All of your dogs.
Yeah, so I have my so I like all the Marriott properties, right? Because the terror's red. So my dogs work those properties looking for explosives. They're also trained for patrol attack because, you know, you probably realize, Ian, none of the security guards are armed, right? They don't have guns, so what do they do, right? They can't do anything. So my dogs become kind of a force multiplier. But I mentioned the bar, Finn's Beach Bar. It's a very popular bar in Canggu in Bali. And
I'm sorry, what was the name of it? What beach bar?
Finn's, F-I-N-N-S, yeah. So
okay, wow.
Very popular. Big international crowd comes there.
I'm going back to Bali again. I told the guys, I'm like, I just gotta coordinate. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know the Rock Bar. I think the Rock Bar, like there's a few other bars that I've been to at Ayana Resort. We work with a bunch of different resorts there. Like I even said, we just got off of another call with the Blue Karma Resorts, and they have 13 properties too. There tends to be these types of conglomerates of hotel chains and whatnot, but I never heard of that. Sounds pretty cool. Sounds amazing. So now you train these dogs, and they're capable of basically anything in a protection space, essentially.
Yeah, so particularly detecting explosives, whether it's in vehicles, on persons, and backpacks, things like that. And then also narcotics, and then patrol attacks. So sometimes if a security officer, he's unarmed, but he needs to send a dog, he can send a pursuit dog after him as well.
Really?
So my wife and I started that business 4.5 years ago. I think it's been a little over 4.5 years. And we built it from the ground up. My wife is, so I put everything in my wife's name. I trained her on everything. She runs the entire show, man. I mean, we had 65 canine handlers, 45 trained canines. And she does everything from licensing, training the dogs, training the handlers, all aspects of it. I'm the kind of guy that when, I build something, it's like, okay, now I'm
delegate it. Yes.
Yeah, I got to move on to something different, right? So
yeah, that's an entrepreneur, visionary. You create, the machine and system is there, and now you delegate it. Then you want to create more. That's what you're passionate about, right? I feel it from you. I feel it. Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. I'm so happy we connected today. Ian was talking so highly of you, and he doesn't really get geeked up on too many people. He happens to be around a lot of celebrities and wealthy people all the time. And let me tell you, not to gas you right now, but he was geeked up on you, man. He was like, yo, Dale is cool. Like, we got to get him on. But yeah, it's honestly super unique. Like, I don't know too many people like, with your story. I'm listening and I'm just like, it's pretty cool. You did a lot of shit, man. A lot of life. It's a lot of life right there. I want to ask you, so you did this, I understand growing up, you were kind of bouncing around a little bit, just to go macro a little bit for the viewers. And then, you had you were in this experience, like you were away in the army, right? Of some sort. You were drafted for 20 so years. You did your years there. You came out, you have this entrepreneurial DNA, you're absorbing this type of energy growing up, right? This is what you're used to. It's all you know. So you're starting to create companies, you're selling them, you're networking in Bali, all over Hong Kong. I know you mentioned various areas. Right now you reside in Panama, right?
I'm in Panama Beach, Florida.
Panama Beach, Florida, yes. And then you also have a villa of your own in Bali. Yeah. And now, so how'd you go? So over the last few years, what got you into the K9 and specifically? Like, just all of what the compilation of experiences and intelligence. But let me ask you this. I feel that could be it, and I'd love for you to answer. Where do you get really these dogs from, if you can tell us? Like, how does this all work? Because that's pretty interesting, and that you're having Marriott. You're in this luxury, you kind of tailored it into a luxury space, which I like, and that's our world in a sense. So I'm very interested. So tell me about this dog endeavor. That's what you're currently doing, right now.
So really the way I got started, I was about 15 years old, I remember, and I always wanted my own dog. We always had a dog in my house, but they were the little poofy dogs, like poodles and stuff. My mom, I wanted a man.
In the pocketbooks.
Yeah, and so one day my mom surprised me. She's like, okay, out of the blue, she said, I'll let you have a dog, but it's got to be, a German Shepherd, and which is ironic because my mom grew up in World War II Germany. And when the Americans pulled out, they left behind a lot of their patrol dogs. And one actually attacked my mom and took out huge chunks out of the back of her calf and her back of her hamstring. I mean, massive scars. And so I would think, this person would not like a dog like that anymore. But actually, that's what she insisted on. I was happy with that idea. So I got the dog, and then my dad was like, well, if you're going to have this dog, you should probably learn how to train it. So my dad spent $1,500 to send me to a dog training school over the summer as an apprentice. Oh, wow. And, probably the best money he's ever spent. Best $1,500 was worth more than any college education, because so I had this keen interest in training dogs because of that. Because I just love dogs. Who don't love dogs, right?
I love dogs. Yeah.
So
I got two little teacups. I have two little Yorkies.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like German Shepherds, though. I love German Shepherds. They're absolutely beautiful.
Well, I got my ex-girlfriend has him now, but he's still mine, So
yeah. So that turned into a side business. Even when I was in the military, a little hobby on the side, and I ended up starting a little business called Comstock's Canine Forces while I was in Delta Force. So I was a single father, single parent. I lived way out in the country, had about 8 acres. I set up a little kennel and training area. And what I was doing is flipping canines. Believe it or not, I'd go in a newspaper, look for dogs that people were getting rid of that were working breeds, ask them what was wrong, go over there, hey, and I'd assess the dog, and I'd go, okay, how much you want for the dog? Oh, you're a dog trainer, you can have it free. So, okay, so I would take the dogs and train them. I would put about a total of 3 hours worth of training in them. So 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Over the course of 2 weeks. And this was, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And I turned around and flipped these dogs for $3,000-$4,000, in less than 2 weeks, putting 3 hours of work into them. I think I'm that good of a dog trainer. So finally, so that was my side hustle for while I was in the Army, and brought in some extra bones, for whatever. And then, and so I've always been kind of a canine enthusiast. I got into the dog sport world. I've been training working dogs for protection, for tracking, for obedience, advanced obedience, things like that. And then I got this opportunity when I went to Jakarta. The billionaire I had mentioned earlier calls me to his office. I sat in front of his BOD. I didn't even know what the hell they wanted to talk about. He's asking me all these questions. How do you like Jakarta? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And then basically they presented this idea. So we want to start a canine company. At first I was like, I don't know. I didn't see the opportunity there. And I also knew what it would take to build a business like that. And So finally, to make a long story short, he invested about $750,000 into this canine program. I did all the work. I brought the first dogs. I brought in the first guys to train. I built the kennels. These kennels were like Hotel Hilton. I mean, they were nice. You know, I mean, we actually built swimming pools for the dogs, right? He was a dog lover too, so he was all in on it. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't all the stuff, but he just to make him feel good. It's like, hey, we'll give him a swimming pool. You know? And I dive right. So anyway, so within 3 months of starting that program, I had gotten our first client, which was the Indonesian Stock Exchange, which is down in with the business loop at Jakarta. So it's a very high profile client. We installed, I believe it was 10 canines, and we're off to the races. That eventually led to me going to Bali. I severed ties with this guy, and then so I'd already started networking with the Marriott properties. He didn't see the vision. The vision was, I said, really, we should be going to the hotels, right? And I was already linked into to Marriott, and he just didn't see the vision, but I did. So that's why I split and went with my wife to Bali. And within 30 days, we garnered our first contract with the Marriott. Now we're at Renaissance Hotel. We got cases everywhere, 24/7, 365 operations. And it's become, the best part of it is it's my dogs that I get to play with, and I get to put into work, and they put food on my table, right? So my whole family's involved, my Indonesian family, my wife and our kids, and all my stepkids, nephews, everybody, right? We made it a family affair. So we've trained everybody, starting with me, basically, the trickle down effect. I trained my wife, who 6 years ago couldn't even run a computer. Now she runs MacBook Pro, Excel sheets. And then basically it was a trainer program. And so now for example, her brother, her nephew, her daughter, her son, they're teenagers, but they're all part of this program, and they're handling canines and so I've tasked it out to everybody else. Signed everything over to my wife. I said, you know what, put it all in your name, because honestly, I'm the guy that, I don't want to sound cocky, but, I figured, you know what, this is going to sound really stupid. This is more of an American phenomenon than an Indonesian phenomenon. But in America, you might as well just go ahead and hand all your shit over to your exes or your wives, because they're going to get it anyways as soon as they leave you. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cut to the chase, sign it all over to you now. And if you want to leave, you got it. I can always build another empire.
I was going to say that thought too. I mean, I hear you with that one, but I was going to say right away, because you know how to create it.
Exactly.
And when you know how, we could throw you in the woods. You're going to be the guy building the fire, the house. Everyone's going to be sitting there like pouting, So you're going to be the one that's going to say, hey, yo, you're going to live right there. Here's your fire. I'm going to go get you the cans of food or whatever, So I feel you have this mentality. So it doesn't even matter to you if your name's on it, because it's you,
Yeah. I'll give you another example of, so when COVID hit a couple of years ago, it devastated a lot of businesses, particularly in Bali. It became Nazi Germany, not just there, but here in the US, as you know. But there it was, police and
tourism, right? Zero tourism.
Yeah, exactly. Killed the tourist business, and that was what they, survive on.
Yeah.
Everything shut down. So going back to the canines, you were asking where I got them. Actually, most of them I get them in Indonesia. I've got sources there that can provide me working dogs. And now my wife and I, my wife actually goes out now and looks for them and sources them. And we do an evaluation via the internet, videos, blah, blah, blah. And then we actually have a transporter that brings them down by vehicle from Bali, from Jakarta. And then we start the training program. So to give you an example about the canines, the value of them for an explosive detector dog, the US price tag's about $20,000 per canine. And my dual purpose dogs are easily worth $30,000 to $40,000. I had 45
per dog, 30 to 40,000.
Yeah, exactly, per canine. And so
what makes a dog worth 30 to 40,000? For some training. The level of training, the expertise put into, the hours put into this dog.
Absolutely. It takes about 90 days to train a dog. And my dogs can detect at least 24 different types of explosives, from C4 to TNT to anything, right? So TAT, Plus, if you're going to do, the dog's gonna be a patrol attack dog. It takes a special breed. And I say special breed, genetics, right? So most of my dogs are Belgian Malinois. I do have some Rottweilers now. I don't particularly care for those because they're too big and bulky for the heat. But the Malinois.
Let me ask you a question. Pardon. Let me ask you a question. So I know you tapped into the hotels. Have you thought of tapping into the government with that? I feel like the government would be interested heavily, right? For all the police, and that seems like the big, like a big thing. I don't know. It just came to mind.
Yeah, the problem is, so you might appreciate this as well, since you guys have been over there. You've got everybody's guarding their rice bowl, right? You got gatekeepers everywhere. Particularly the military's got, their canine guys. The police have got their canine, which my dogs outperform all of them, hands down, every time. I've actually had the police kicked off of properties. It's like, get your dog, get out of here, because you're walking pets around pretending like you're a police dog, blah, blah, blah. But it's one of those things. If you want to get in, you got to pay people, right?
And they're going to probably say, we have our process. We have our process, right?
And so, you know what? I'm happy with where I'm at, because I'm not beholden to anyone but myself and my business and my clients. You don't like me, tell me to leave, and I leave. But so far, we've done well for ourselves. But when COVID hit, we lost. I ended up losing a lot of canines, to the point we were down to almost 9 dogs. So think about the price tag that goes with that when you lose that many canines in your program, over 35 dogs at that price tag. So plus the level of effort that went in to train them. So anyways, I came home. So right when COVID hit, I came home expect to be home for 3 weeks here in Florida. My real home is in Bali. I consider Bali my home. And so I came to Florida to do a training program, 3 different clients, and all of them were canceled immediately because it's COVID, right? And so next thing I know, I can't even travel, right? All those restrictions settle in. So I'm sitting here, literally right here where I'm sitting right now. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? So the cool thing is, and I would tell all your listeners out there, don't be linear. Don't be a one-trick pony. In other words, skill sets. Build your skill sets. Have diverse skill sets, unrelated, right? So I can do everything. Today I can wear a hat as a dog trainer. Tomorrow as a firearms instructor. I can do so many things. Okay, I got a PhD in alternative medicine, natural health. I can go on and on and on. But so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, I'm stuck in my home here, and I don't know when I'm going to get back. It turns out I got stuck here for 3 months. So within a few days, I got on the phone with my daughter. My daughter owns a company called a business called Rich Girl Business, and she's basically a coach, a business coach for women entrepreneurs. She teaches internet marketing and business, things like that. So I talked to her, and
like consulting.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And my business partner, you probably know who this guy is. His name's Joe Tedeye from Dual Survival Discovery Channel. In fact, he's here right now in the back room. But so we said, hey, why don't we start a coaching company? Now, I've been coaching for about 5 years already, 5.5 years. And that's actually my passion. I like that more than anything else that I do. I love coaching people, right? So we said, well, since we're sitting on our can, and waiting for the clock to stop ticking, let's do something. So we started Tier 1 performance coaching, and 3 of us became business partners. And within probably less than a week, we had built the website, we had done all the legwork, and we're in business making money off the internet. And we're making really good money. And here's the reason we made good money is because everybody out there millions of people were losing their job. Right. And they're going, they couldn't wait for the $2,000 check. You're like, oh my God, and it's like $2,000. Most people burn through that in less than 2 weeks, just on groceries and stuff. And so, but that's how bad it was. And people, when, I started telling people, like, look, you made a mistake. You bought into the whole idea that if you go to college, you learn a skill, get an education, you got one skill set.
That's it. They're vertically scaled. They're not horizontally scaled with skills. They know one thing, right?
So they lost that one vertical, and that was it. And now they're sitting there and asking, what do I do? So I'm an example of, well, what am I do? I'll just start a coaching company and show people how they err in their ways and how to rebuild and make it better for themselves. So we actually started this coaching company. And so I'm sitting here waiting for COVID to go away, making a ton of money, just right here.
You tapped into a pain point. You brought a solution. It's
exactly.
amazing. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you, because it naturally goes into this. I ask everybody this. You got a lot of energy and stamina. I know you've been at it for a bit, which is like the secret, I feel. What's like your morning routine? Just to dive into this in particular, what are you doing in the morning to like make that day effective every day? Because you've made a lot of you did a lot of things, which is amazing. For people listening and they're like, what is he doing? Like, how does he get his day going and then create that consistency? What would you say? What are you tapping into in this time?
It depends on which side of the world I live on, believe it or not, because in Bali, it's a 12-hour difference, right? So when I'm in Bali, for example, when I wake up in the morning, that's evening for everybody in the US. And so I do, most people, when they do coaching with me, it's in the evening. So I got to get up in the morning to do the coaching in the US. Okay. And so then what I do is after all my coaching sessions are done in the morning, which usually I go about 2 hours with each client. And on average, I have probably, I don't like to have this many because it's time consuming, but I have about 15 clients at a time that I coach over the course of 8 weeks. And then what I do is in the afternoon is when I go do all my other stuff, go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. Here in the US, like this morning, every morning we get up, Joe and I, first thing we do. So we've got to actually have clients here in Panama City Beach. They actually came up from Miami. They're here with us for 60 days. They've got Airbnb and they're actually training with us. And they're paying us for this. So we get up every morning. Like this morning is going to be a pool morning. We're going to go to the pool. We're going to do drown proofing, all kinds of, different swimming strokes related to, long distance swimming, survival swimming. But normally we either go to the pool or to the gym in the morning. So when I wake up, my order of business is, first of all, make my bed. Even though my wife's not here, she's in Bali right now. She can't see it, but I can see it. So I make my bed, go to the bathroom, shower, shave, go out and take my vitamins, eat my breakfast. I take vitamins every morning, lots of vitamins, supplements. And then from there, we'll go to the gym or go to the pool. We'll get a good workout in, come back, regroup, and then we start off our day with business, whatever it is. If it's trainings or I'm coaching or whatever I'm involved in, then it's, I'm engaged for the rest of the day in that process. Now, the other thing is, although, it sounds kind of regimented, it's not. There are some things that are imperatives. For example, I must work out every day. I must eat properly every day. Now, that doesn't mean I don't splurge. I splurge a lot. Okay, I love pizza and chicken wings like everybody else. And I
don't like that. I was about to say, I'm Italian. You talk about pizza around me, I'm like, where is it? I'm with you.
But there's some things in my life that are super important. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I'm 59 years old, and I honestly feel like a 29-year-old. I'm in better
like
shape.
30, bro. Yeah, you look 39. You look 38. That's crazy.
I'll tell you the secret that it's just not good genetics, because if you look at my dad's gone, but my dad and my mom were munchkins. They were both like 5'4", and I'm 6 foot. My heaviest weight was 232, but it's all bulk and muscle. I'm about 205 right now. But the key to longevity, the key to being productive, and enjoying your later years of life is, no doubt about it, is fitness. People neglect that. They think, well, if I have time, they think it's just an optional thing, when it should be, really, it should be your lifestyle. It's got to be as important as breathing, eating, drinking, sex, everything else. It's got to be right up there. And it always has been that way for me. Even growing up as a kid, I've always been an athlete. I was a professional boxer while I was in the Army. I fought one of the first MMA fights in the United States in 1996 in Richmond, Virginia. I was doing this in my 30s.
It wasn't an option for you. It was a priority, right? Like that's a part of my lifestyle.
Yeah, when I was 47, is when I decided one day, which is really funny, so my son's a Green Beret also, and a Ranger. And
really?
And so I saw a picture of him one day in a bodybuilding contest. I go, what? And so he didn't tell me that. It was like a little secret. I don't know why he didn't want to tell me that. Maybe he's embarrassed because he's up there in his little banana hammock,
Yeah, doing this, right?
Yeah, I thought, how cool is that, right? So we got to talking about it, and my ex-wife, we said, you know what, why don't we do a bodybuilding show together? So within 7 months, I trained. I was in great shape. Remember, I was a boxer, I was an athlete, but I was not a bodybuilder shape. And so we all started training. Within 7 months, as a family, we did our first competitive bodybuilding show down in Orlando. My son and I were both in weights, and we're standing side by side. My wife was in a figure fitness contest, and And I actually beat my son. I took 5th overall. My son took 6th. But I got up there. I didn't care about winning or losing. I just thought it was so cool to be good enough to stand on stage with my son.
Family. Yeah.
My whole family, right? And so that was at the age of 47. My last bodybuilding show was at the age of 50. Next year, I intend to do another show at the age of 60. I haven't done, so what this is going to do is now it's going to give me purpose again, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, what is like the thing you would say to someone listening that's like, yo, I want that drive. I want to get myself right. Like what keeps you driven?
Okay, so here, great question. This is going to tie into what I teach people in my coaching. So success is not based on hard work. Success is not based on smart work. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Go, what? Yeah. Here's what it's based on. It's based on frequencies, based on imagination. That's well, he's not around anymore. Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, well, all 369. You're wearing the numbers there, Ian. So they will tell you success is based on frequency. Get on success frequency. Well, what does that mean? It literally means energy, electromagnetic energy. Everything is energy. And if you can understand that, and you can understand how that functions and how that influences not only our personally our lives and our biology, but actually our life around us. If you can understand, harness that energy, you can do whatever you want. When you look at my resume and my bios, when people go, how did you do so much? Yeah. It took a while to break the code, and I have some cool stories about how I discovered it. But essentially it's physics. It's literally physics. So it's all based on imagination, the vision. The more you can imagine something, the more you can visualize something. What you do is you program your nervous system for performance, okay? And think of yourself as an antenna, okay? A radio receiver, transmitter. And what you're doing is you're emanating frequency. The laws of attraction come to play, and you create your reality. I do this every day. I do this. So you saw the thing of me throwing the axe. You saw me throwing the 2 axes. I swear to God, as I stand here, I have never thrown an axe before. I've never been one of these things. My client actually took me out the other night. He goes, let's go to this axe. I'm like, okay, we'll throw some axes, right? And I thought it was kind of weird. Alcohol and axes. Yeah, it's a good idea. So, you know.
What happened? You threw the axe? Ian, he threw the axe and he just hit the tree first time?
Go on Instagram. It's on there right now. It was your first time doing it, right?
First time. Yeah. So normally you just throw one axe.
Put that energy out there. And you visualized it, and it was just, first try. I saw that. You hit right in the center, too.
I love what you just said, man. I love what you just said. I'm thankful for you to say it. I feel like that resonated, like the energy, like you really determines your environment, right? Like, it's like a byproduct of what's going to happen around you, that energy and that frequency. Right. It's what you put out, you get back. It's
not working harder, it's not working harder. It's imagination, right? So going back to 2 axes, so normally you just throw 1 axe. I picked up 2 axes and I looked at it, and you could hear Joe Ted in the background goes, dude, if you get those in the red, in the X's, he goes, I'll never talk to you again. I lined them up and I visualized right there on the spot. I saw myself throwing those 2 axes, threw both of them right into the freaking X's. 2 feet at the same time, 2 hands, right? So never done this before, right? And so this is an example of frequency at play and imagination at play. So this is what my life is centered on. If you can do that, success is not about working hard and working smarter. It's actually about visualization. Imagine the future, imagine your performance now. So that's it.
And very well put, man.
That's so in sync with me too. That's how I get my mornings.
I feel that. I feel it. Let me ask you, Dale. Let me ask you another thought. I appreciate you giving all this insight. It's awesome. It's very unique and it's dope. It's sitting with me. I know it is with Ian too. And anyone that's listening. Let me ask you something. Like, for those that are listening too, what would you say were one of your obstacles, or something that because this is all great and awesome, but something that maybe stopped you that someone can feel and resonate with, like, damn, I stopped there, but I gave up and became this and did that and went down that fork in the road. I didn't go down the path I wanted to because of this. What would you say was an obstacle that you had to go through that you overcame, that you maybe could shine a little light on, if you could come up with something, not to put you on the spot, but.
Yeah. So remember I said earlier, my mom and dad were munchkins, right? They were 5'6", 5'4". They were little tiny people, right? Yeah. And so I keep looking at my mom and go, Mom, what the postman look like? Because something ain't adding up here, right? I'm a little bit bigger than everybody else. But anyways, so I grew up very small. I was actually a runt. throughout school, high school. I was the guy getting bullied up to a point, and I did have a little self-esteem, issue because of my size, and also I was very introverted. You never know that now, but I was very, very introverted, very quiet, very shy. So I was an easy target, And now, great thing is, I had two parents that they wouldn't allow me to be bullied. In other words, but what they did not do is they did not go out and intervene in a situation. What they would tell me is, you either kick their ass, or we come home, I kick your ass. But either way, you're getting ass kicking, so you might as well go out there and fight and win, right? And I can still remember under the street light, out in the street, fighting with kids, bam, 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 bam. I'm up beating the shit out of my dad, stood there drinking a beer, go, kick his ass, son, and don't come home if you lose, right? I mean, that was his attitude. Now, my dad wasn't a hillbilly, he wasn't a redneck. It was just the times that I grew up in. We had different expectations for our young men, right? And my dad was a great dad. Him and my mom have created this person that I am today because of their mindset. They didn't coddle me. Basically it was like John Wayne, you better get tough, kid, because it's a tough world out there. And so being a small guy, being introverted, and fortunately I had the drive inside me. I wanted to be better. I was always very competitive. Everything is, maybe it was the Napoleon complex. I just felt like I had to outperform everybody. And so here I am. I exceeded at everything because I saw it, what I wanted to do, and I could imagine. Here's another example. So when I was growing up as a teenager in my dad's garage, before I was still in high school, I love punching on the punching bag, and I always wanted to be a professional boxer. Never done any boxing, but when I go out there and beat the shit out of this bag, my knuckles were bleeding and stuff all the time. And I remember, always imagining, I love Sugar Ray Leonard at the time, right? I was like, man, I love the way this guy fought. And I just kind of, emulate him all the time.
Yeah.
It was always like a dream, to be a professional boxer. And I thought it was going to never happen after I joined the Army. But lo and behold, by the time I was 32 years old, which is late, I actually turned to a pro boxer, right? Started boxing professionally. So I checked another block. So the dream never died. Okay. It was always back there working. It's just a matter of timing when it would happen. And so really what happened, and one other little side story here is, I was the youngest guy ever to make it to Delta Force at the age of 23. The average age is 33. I had 4 years experience in the military. I had a wife, I had a little baby. I was really good at digging holes, foxholes, and filling them up. That was the extent of my skill set. But I had this vision, and I remember when I went in the Army, I told my dad I wanted to be a Green Beret, and that seemed like that dream was kind of fading, because I ended up in an infantry unit, 82nd. And I remember I called my mom. I was right up at this point, my 4 years was up, and I was like, "Do I want to get out?" And I thought, "Yeah, I want to get out because I'm tired of digging foxholes." So I called my mom up and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm thinking about getting out of the Army. Would you mind putting up with my wife and my daughter, for a couple of months till I get on my feet?" And in her German accent, she's like, "No, not no, but hell no," right? So I was like, "Okay, thanks, Mom." That she made a decision for me. It's like, I got to stay in. So I said, "Well, if I'm going to stay in," I said, "I might as well go to the top." I said, "I'll cut out all the bullshit in the middle, go to this and then." I said, "No, I'm going to go to the very top." To me, and the top was being the Delta Force operator. It is the hardest selection process to go through. Don't tell me about SEALs, BUDS, all that bullshit. That's bullshit. All right. When you go through Delta Force selection, it's an individual effort. You're not going through with a bunch of guys carrying a log, rolling around the sand, right? No, you're going through everything by yourself. And guess who's testing you? You are testing yourself, because it's so hard that they're testing your mindset. Can you do it nonetheless with a broken body? It's a whole different phenomenon. But anyways, at the end of the day, I was selected. Out of 110 guys that started in my class, 6 of us finished the course, 3 of us got selected. They do that twice a year only, by the way. And I was the youngest guy ever at the age of 23 to make it. Why did I make it? Because I visualized the outcome. I wanted it so bad. Yeah. My wife would go, "Hey, baby, let's go to bed and have sex." I'd be, "Look, baby, let's go to bed and talk about Delta Force." That's how committed I was for training. That's how committed I was. I was willing to sacrifice everything except my family. Yeah, right. So,
that's crazy. So you would say to someone watching, of course, we have a lot of successful entrepreneurs that watch, but even like someone that's coming up or that, in any niche they're in, it doesn't matter, right? Because this kind of transcends, you would just say like, just don't give up, go harder, visualize the top and get to the top, right? Because your mom telling you, no, we're not going to do this, made you almost like zone back into that zone. And then you started visualizing, okay, I need to go to the very top if I'm in this zone. And then you just versed yourself, which I love you said that. You know, a lot of people look around like, oh no, he failed and then made me fail, or they blame things. They don't look at themselves. So that like that type of that training, that kind of set you apart from like the rest, I feel like, because people don't go through that. They go through skipping around life all day long, you know? So that's pretty valuable right there. I appreciate you sharing that.
He is every little victory adds up, right? So, you know, for example, I think it was Admiral McCraven. He did a speech with what he said was, it resonates with all military guys. First thing you do every day is you make your bed, right? Even if nobody's watching. Why? Because what you're doing, you're setting a precedence. But for me, it's a victory, right?
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
it's self-leadership, auto-governance. It's like, you know, do I have the discipline to make my bed even though nobody's watching? Yes, I make the damn bed, right? Do I have the discipline to do all these other things even though nobody's watching? Yes, I do. And if I don't, I beat myself up for it, right? So I don't like that. So everything's a little victory and they just start adding up. So I have a saying, with every victory, I'm empowered, and with every defeat, I'm more resolute, but I will never quit. And that's the point to this. Say everything I do, no matter how small it is, it's a victory, and they start adding up. And the more victories you have, the more confident you become. And over time, you're this monster, right? There's nothing I can't do. And the only reason I don't do it is because I don't want to do it. That's it. You know, I do what I want to do because that's what I love. And let me add something to that, right? So again, for the people listening, some people measure success by money. Okay, that's their metrics, and that's fine. It would depend on what your goals are in life. But for me personally, my wealth is my experience, right? So I jokingly tell people all the time, you know, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, they're always laying in bed looking at each other every night going, I wonder what it'd be like to be Dale Comstock. They'll never buy my experience, right? But I can always have their money if I want it. So the point to that story is live your life to your fullest, do the things that bring you happiness and enjoyment, okay? Because therein is the richness, therein is the wealth, you know, and if you make a lot of money, great, that's even better. But you only live once, as far as we know right now, right? So get the most out of everything, because tomorrow's not promised.
Sheesh. The American badass right there. I love it. I love it.
Oh, we got to meet up. You know, I'm either going to go up there, or when you come down to Miami, or
absolutely,
if you're flying, you got an extra seat for me on the jet, let me know. You know, I'll tag along.
You're family to us, and I feel the vibes. That's what I'm a family guy. I like that you take the family with you. You hold people down. I feel the energy, you know, and it's special. It's unique. It's awesome. Dale, I thank you for coming on with us today, and really appreciate all the gems you just dropped. It's awesome. It's Ian and I, we're fully tuned in with you all the way, and you're part of the family, the Billionaires Club, the Luxury Magazine.
Personally, you know, we only want to work with the best of the best in every industry. So I'm very grateful, you know, that we connected. And then also, like, I have the guys here from Guardian Security. I don't know if you know them, but they travel around with all the celebrities and things like that. So they're part of my family too. I'd like to be able to connect you guys as well too, you know?
Awesome. I would appreciate that. And
we'll chat more about that.
I really appreciate it, man. You know, these opportunities, I've done hundreds and hundreds of podcast interviews, and usually I tell the host, listen, guys, I'm probably the easiest guy you'll ever interview. Just introduce me, get up, go get some coffee at Starbucks for a couple hours. I'll handle this. We come back, you know, you close it up, you know. I like doing these because, you know, I'm a teacher, man. I love teaching. I love teaching more than I love anything else in the world.
Honestly, I think you're tapped in, bro. I've done this a few times. This might be the 20th something episode or whatever, but I'm like that. I speak to people all the time. You know, I'm young and I've done some things. So it's always like, Mike, what do I do? So I'm giving that guidance. And I hear you, I feel you. This is like your thing. I'm sure there's a lot of things, but I can feel it. You're tapped in and you could really help a lot of people. You know, it's good you're doing the consulting thing. I'm not even gassing you, like I said before with Ian. Like, I'm telling you genuinely. So keep doing what you're doing, man. It's amazing.
You're like a mentor, you know? We all need mentors.
Yes. All love, Dale, and I appreciate you so much. All right. And we're going to share this and all that. And thank you again for joining us. All right. Keep up all the amazing stuff. We're fully tuned in. All right. All love. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a great one.
Thank you for watching this episode. We upload a new episode every Friday at 5 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. We as well greatly appreciate those that have subscribed to the channel. We appreciate the love and the support. Lastly, if you've missed last week's episode, tune into the episode right here.